Hello, welcome back for another episode of Quickfire Review with me, Mark Lother. So, this week I have watched quite a few films, um, and the first one I want to talk about is a film by Richard Ayoade called Submarine. This is a coming of age film about a boy who fancies this girl who's bit of a bully. She smokes. She's very her characteristics do not match his at all. They're very different people. For some reason, he's still attracted to her, and the film deals with different things. That you know people go through at this age. Their parents are struggling to keep their marriage going, and he's struggling to make friends. He's struggling to get her attention, and it all adds up to this guy just trying to plan things to make sure that things go the way he wants them to. He's quite a selfish character in that way, I think. It's by Richard Ayoade, who is from the IT crowd and Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. He's really funny. If you've ever seen him on Big Fat Quiz of the Year, he's hilarious. Um, I didn't know he would get into directing at some point. Ben Stiller is a producer on it. I'm guessing it was from that film. I think it was The Watch or something, where they both starred in it. So he must have helped him get this kind of started up. But it is a great story with great acting. It's a fantastic coming of age film, and it feels very real. So, um, a lot of the kids in it are swearing, and they generally feel like real kids. There's a lot of films where kids in it are just like overacting. It just feels like ridiculous. I just find a lot of in American films that just like, hey, butthead, things like that. Um, but this feels like a very genuine film, very pure. Um, Give it a watch. It's a very short film, it's only like an hour and a half, and I think something like this you could probably get on Prime as well. The next film I watched was a film by what's his name? Lindsay Anderson. This film is called If and stars Malcolm McDowell. This is one of his first films he ever did. I think it's before Clockwork Orange as well, and this is quite a strange one. So I watched the trailer for it, and the trailer basically showed what the end scene is. I think it was a trailer scene. I seen something, and it basically showed the end scene, and that's what got me interested. I was like, I don't know if I want to say what it is because I might spoil it. Essentially, I got the movie based on that because it looked fascinating, especially for this time period. Um, when this film was made, it was fascinating to see how they get away with it. And as the film starts and continues, there's no real sort of narrative kind of stringing things together. It's about boys in a boarding school, and we kind of cut between Malcolm McDowell's character, his friends, and some of the younger boys, and some of the prefects and teachers. So it kind of goes to all these different places. And I couldn't really pinpoint what was going on. I didn't know how I was going to get to the point I seen before. I was like, it's it's going on quite a long time now. Is it going to be the final bit? And it really was. It was just the last bit I seen. The bit that got me excited was it didn't last long, and it was quite disappointing. Um, but nevertheless, it was actually a really good film. I wasn't expecting what I got. I really enjoyed watching these students go on their daily lives and how rebellious they became because of the prefects. Uh, and I think it's definitely again another coming of age film. I've kind of got a thing for these. I think Malcolm McDowell's brilliant. He's great, and especially for one of his earlier films. In fact, a lot of the cast are great in this. There's only one strange thing about the film. So at one point, it's filmed in monochrome. At first, I thought it was sort of a creative decision, and it kept happening throughout the film. Every random scenes would just be in black and white, and it didn't really know why. So, as you assume it's something to do with fantasy or something, maybe, reality, and that's kind of what it ended up being. The problem was when they were shooting in the church, they could only film with natural light, I think it was. So they had to film in monochrome because they couldn't get the right lighting in color. So instead of having just church scenes black and white, he chose to film other scenes in black and white, and it was supposed to kind of differentiate differentiate the scenes from reality and sort of fantasy. But then there's some scenes where you think, what? Why is this in black and white? It doesn't really make sense for this one. At least I don't think, anyway. But it just becomes very random. I didn't really like it because of that. I think maybe they should have just kept the church scenes black and white. Maybe that might have been better. It's up for debate, I guess. Personally, I didn't. But again, I love the characters in this, and that's really the driving force of this film is how they interact with each other, the sort of rebellious nature they have against, the teachers and adults and just in general, or prefects. And it's just fun seeing them do all these different things. So you don't really know where it's going to go in the end. You obviously know they're going to rebel in some way, but not to the extent that it actually does. And it's kind of up for debate on how do you interpret the ending. Is it fantasy? Is it real? Who knows? Oh no, I broke that one. Right. So the last one I watched here was this one by Mamoru Hosoda, who is one of my favorite anime directors. The Boy and the Beast. I've watched Wolf Children, Summer Wars, and The Girl You Let Through Time, and I loved every single one of them. I pretty much give them all a 9 out of 10. This isn't the best one out of all of them. Not saying it's bad. It's definitely a really good film. I loved it, but out of all 4 of those, I think this is the weakest in general, just because it does feel cliche at times. So what it's about is this young boy, his mother dies, he runs away from his father to live in the streets. Sorry, he doesn't run away from his father's not there, but his relatives were going to take him in, but he decided no. He's extremely rebellious at this young age, and he runs away. And there's another world where beasts come from, and one of these beasts are just walking around in the human world, and he needs an apprentice. So he just randomly chooses this wee kid. He follows him back, and at first they don't like working together, and they fight and argue constantly, and that is the majority of the film, is they're just constantly bickering. And it's really annoying at first because that's all they do is shout at each other for a good half hour. But eventually, later on in the film, you're like, this film probably wouldn't be as good if that didn't happen, because later on you realize that's what the relationship is, and you wouldn't have it any other way, because it kind of needs that sort of relationship to keep going. And they become sort of partners, and this beast becomes like a father figure to him. I can't remember what they call the beast is. The kid's name is Kyota, and I can't pronounce that name. Kumatetsu. I can't. That's a hard one to pronounce that. And he's a beast, and he wants to become a god of this world, and to do that he needs an apprentice. So he takes on this young boy, and then at some point he grows up, and then he has to learn that there's a whole other world outside this universe that he's in with the beasts. He goes back to his world and discovers things, and it's sort of that issue where he's trying to choose his path in life. He wants to do one thing, and the beast, who is kind of his father figure in this, almost doesn't want it to happen. So it got his touching moments, like all his films do, quite emotional moments. Wolf Children and The Girl Let Through Time have really emotional moments I love, and they feel very real. And also, I just love the sort of style of animation. It's really nice, and I think it fits has a really good emotional impact, the way he animates characters. So I'd definitely give this one a watch. I'd obviously suggest all his other films. I haven't watched Mirai yet, or Mirai, I don't know how to pronounce it. That's his newest one. I haven't watched it yet, but it's on my list, and I'm dying to see that one. I'm going to get it next when I can. But I definitely recommend, if you want to watch anime films, they're very accessible. The stories are very straightforward. They're not hard to understand. Kids can enjoy them because they're all like 12. There's none of them are mature or have mature content. They're definitely for anyone can enjoy them. Adults, kids, it's great. They're fantastic, and I recommend all his full library of sort of movies. So those are the 3 films I've been watching lately. I didn't have a huge amount to say about those, but again, I enjoyed them all, and obviously I recommend them. I'm not sure if they have them on Prime. I haven't actually checked. I apologize. But Prime seem to have everything for rent, so you might be able to get them on there. Hopefully you can. Anyway, till next time, keep watching my videos.